here. So say I wanted a stack of grass.
Humans, even when we cross our T's and dot our I's.
Hey guys, it's Louie here, and it's about time I made this video. Welcome to my updated tutorial on how to install Ubuntu from Windows. In this tutorial I'm going to be covering a dual boot with Windows, and I'm also going to be covering replacing Windows with Ubuntu. I'll have annotations to skip to certain parts of the video depending on what you're trying to do within the video, but for now, enjoy. You are going to need a couple of things. The first thing you're going to need is either a USB flash drive or a DVD with at least preferably 2 GB of storage. Next thing you're going to need is an Ubuntu ISO file, which we are going to download. To do that, open up your internet browser, and then you want to go to ubuntu.com/download and hit enter. And I'm pretty sure I spelled that wrong. Alright, there we go. And I still spelled it wrong. Alright, once you're at this page, you want to go to Ubuntu Desktop, and you should come to a page that looks like this. And then you'll find this drop down list here, set. And if you're using a 64-bit machine, you want to obviously download the 64-bit one, and if you're using a 32-bit machine, download the 32-bit one. If you're unsure, then just go to My Computer or This PC, whichever one it's called for you. Right-click on it, go to Properties, and right here where it says System Type, it'll tell you. Alright, now that we've gotten that out of the way, you want to hit Download, scroll down, and hit Not Now, take me to the download. It should start downloading. I'm going to pause the video till this is done downloading, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm finished downloading that, as you can see, and now we are going to shrink some space somewhere on the computer to make some room to install Ubuntu. To do that, the process is fairly simple. You want to go to your Start menu or Start screen, once again find My Computer or This PC, right-click on that, and hit Manage. This may take a couple seconds to come up, don't worry, that's perfectly normal. So I'll pause the video till this is up. Alright, that just popped up, and once you get to here, you want to go to Storage, Disk Management, and once again, this will take a couple seconds to come up. And you will get to a page that looks something like that, and I'm just going to full screen it so you can see it a little better. Basically, we're going to find somewhere where you can make some room to install Ubuntu. Now, if you have no idea what any of your partitions are, and you don't really want to mess with anything, then I recommend simply shrinking the Windows partition. And the way you know you're in the Windows partition is it's a C with behind a colon inside of 2 parentheses, and it's normally an NTFS partition. And it should normally be either the biggest or second biggest partition on your computer. And if you don't really know what you're doing, we're going to shrink that partition. Now, don't do anything yet. If you do know what you're doing, and you have maybe an extra storage partition, or maybe some extra space that you're not really using, then you can shrink that instead. But as you can see, I don't have any huge extra space, so I'm going to be shrinking the Windows partition. To do that, you simply want to right-click on it, and then we're going to hit Shrink Volume. This will take up to 10 minutes to come up, so don't be alarmed if it takes a long time. However, if it does take more than 10 minutes, then you need to restart the computer and try again. Because for some reason, this on any computer, shrinking it is just really slow for some reason. So I will be right back when this is loaded, and yeah. Alright, that has finally come up. That took me quite a while. And now that this is up, you're going to see something that looks like this. Now, what this is, the one box you can type into, is the size in megabytes that you want to allocate for Ubuntu, basically. Now, 10,000 megabytes is about 10 gigabytes. So, if you look at how big your partition you're shrinking is, that's in gigabytes. And Generally speaking, it's up to you how much space you want to allocate for Ubuntu. If you're only like using it to test it out, I mean, you could go as low as 10 gigabytes. It only really needs 8 gigabytes to install, but like if you're gonna use it as like a primary operating system, you could do like half. So for me, like 25 gigabytes. But because I'm only doing it for this tutorial, I'm just gonna do 10 gigabytes and hit shrink. Now, once again, this process is going to take probably like 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know why. It's just disk management for some reason is always a little slow. So even if nothing happens at once, as you can see when I put my mouse over, I get the loading sign. So yeah, just don't touch that. And now while that's going, we can create a live DVD or USB to boot into Ubuntu. Now, to do that, you want to plop your DVD or USB flash drive into your computer. Then you want to go to the Ubuntu ISO file you downloaded. And if you're trying to make a live DVD, what you're going to want to do is right-click on this, and then you're going to hit Burn Disk Image. Then you would find your disk in this drop-down list. But if you actually put a disk into your computer, it would come up on here, and then you would find the drive it's in and select it, then you would hit burn. Now, I'm using a USB flash drive, which is what I strongly recommend, because if you use a DVD for this, you won't be able to reuse the DVD after. However, you will be able to reuse a USB flash drive after this, so I strongly recommend using a USB flash drive. If you're using a flash drive, then what you're going to want to do is download an app called Universal USB Installer. So, I'll show you how to do that. Universal USB installer, and here's the link. I'll have every link in the description, don't worry. You basically want to go to this site, download UUI, and that should download. It's a tiny file, so don't worry. And then once that's done downloading, you want to open that up. It's going to say, do you want to allow it to make changes to your computer? You just want to hit yes, and then you want to hit I agree. Then it's going to say select a Linux distribution from the drop-down to put on your USB. It's the one at the very top, Ubuntu. Then you're going to want to hit browse and find the Ubuntu ISO file you downloaded. And then where it says select your USB flash drive, you want to plug in your USB flash drive. Then just go to my computer and check which drive your flash drive is in. For me, as you can see, is E. So I'm going to select E. And now, if you don't have enough space on your USB flash drive, you would have to format it, which would erase everything on it. So you would want to make a backup if you do that. And you probably want to make a backup of your flash drive anyway before you do this, but I don't need to do that. So I'm just going to hit create. Yeah. And then this should take about 5 minutes to complete. Why is everything 5 minutes? It's good. And as you can see, I have now created some unallocated space to install Ubuntu 2. If you already had some unallocated space before you shrunk one of these, chances are the unallocated space would just add its size to the other unallocated space, so you'd have even more space to install Ubuntu 2. So yeah, that's done. This is going. So I'm gonna just pause the video till this is all done, and I'll be right back. Okay, once you have finished with that DVD or USB flash drive, you want to go to this site. Once again, I will have this link in the description. And this site is the site we will use to figure out how to access our boot device list. And the reason we need to access our boot device list is so that the computer doesn't boot into the hard drive. Instead, it'll boot into a DVD or USB flash drive. Now, this is actually a lot more simple than the graph looks. You want to find your computer model on the left, and then you want to find the boot menu that corresponds with that. So if I was using an Acer Aspire 1 notebook, then my boot menu key would be F12. So yeah, you want to find that key, and then when your computer restarts in a few minutes, when it says, when your computer first turns on, normally a splash screen comes up with like the computer manufacturer, and it might say something like press blah blah to access boot device list, or press this key to abort normal startup, or press del to boot into BIOS setup utility. Um, Basically at that point you want to press your boot menu key, and that should get you to your boot device list. So we've done everything we need to do on Windows, so now I'm going to go ahead and restart this computer. I'm running this in VirtualBox, so this shouldn't take too long. It should be instant. And once this shuts down, I'm going to get the VirtualBox splash screen, and then for me it's F12 to get to the boot device list. So yeah, I might have to pause the video of this. Oh, there we go. So you can see I got the splash screen, and you should get to a list that looks somewhat like this. For me it looks somewhat different because once again I'm using VirtualBox, so I'm actually running this in a window inside of Windows 8. So yeah, for you what would happen is if your USB is plugged into your computer, it would detect it and give you the option for USB flash drive. And if you're using a DVD, obviously you'd hit CD-ROM/DVD. So for me, actually, I'm gonna have to put my USB flash drive in, and then it detects it as a floppy disk. So I'll be right back. Alright, now I'm gonna boot into that by pressing the button, and you should get a purpley Ubuntu colored screen that looks something like this. And alright, sorry about that little error message I got. That was just a VirtualBox bug I had to fix. Anyway, this should take quite a while to boot because once again you're running off a USB flash drive or a DVD, which is generally going to take a lot longer than your hard drive. If you get a red error like that, I get that every time, and the screen turns yellow and scary, don't worry about that. It is perfectly fine. Now, once that has loaded, you should get to a screen that looks something like this, and it'll say try Ubuntu or install Ubuntu. Now, I really strongly, super duper, pooper looper scooper recommend trying Ubuntu before you install it, because if, for example, you're replacing Windows with Ubuntu, then you find out all of a sudden you can't print because your drivers aren't compatible, then you've got a big problem. So try Ubuntu, make sure everything's working the way you want it to before you proceed. If you're dual booting, it's not that big of a deal, but it's still smarter to try it before you install. Now you want to download updates while you're installing so that you don't have to download a ton of updates after you install, and you need to install this third-party software also. Then you want to hit continue. And I was wrong, I only need 6.3 gigabytes to install. Alright, this screen may take a little bit to come up. It always does. But if it does ever take more than 5 minutes once you click next here, what you gotta do is quit, and then you have to relaunch the installer, and that normally fixes the problem. But for me, it has detected my unallocated space actually, so it's giving me the option to install Ubuntu alongside Windows 7. And so as you can see, it's detected that. So what you're going to want to do then is hit install now. But if you're unsure and you're scared it may be installing it onto another partition, what you can do is you can go to something else, and then you want to find this unallocated space, which would be called free space. Then you're going to double click on this, and then where it says mount point, change that to slash, and then change this to primary, and then click OK. And then actually what that's going to do is force basically Ubuntu to install to this unallocated partition, just in case you're unsure. And then once you're done with that, everything's good, you can just hit install now. And if you do this, it may say you need to enable swap space, but it's really not that important. Unless you have a really low end slow computer, you don't really need to enable swap space. But yeah, just hit continue, and that should install. If you do want to know how to install swap space, it's really simple. You know what, at the end of the video I will show you how to do that. So yeah, this is just the basic installation process. You put in your location, your keyboard setup, and then it's gonna ask you for your login details. Oh wow, even detection I'm on VirtualBox. Put in a password, or you can set it to log in automatically, or actually you need a password. And then you hit continue, and basically it's gonna finish installing and you're done. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and comment, rate, and subscribe, and until next time. And now what I'm going to do is pause the video and cancel this installation and show you guys how to enable swap space, just if you want that. So yeah. Alright guys, I'm back, and now basically what you're going to do to get some swap space is when you boot into your Ubuntu Live CD or USB, instead of going to install Ubuntu, you want to go to try Ubuntu, then you want to go to the dash home on the top left, and you want to search for an app called Gparted. And once again, this is going to be extremely laggy because you're running from a live USB/DVD, but don't worry, it's not going to be like this on the actual installation. So yeah, it's just loading now, and as you can see, I have my two Windows partitions here, and then this is actually, let me just delete this. That's what it'll look like for you. You'll have your unallocated Linux space here, and then you'll have your Windows partition. So what you're going to want to do is right click on this, and you're going to want to hit new, and then what you're going to want to do is where it says new size, just take about 1 GB of space off of that. So I'm just gonna change mine from 10,000 to 9,000, and that's gonna be my new size. And then I'm gonna hit add, and then I'm gonna leave some of this space unallocated, and then I'm gonna hit this check mark and hit apply, and that should be instant. Now once you've done that, you can close out of that, and you want to click install Ubuntu, whatever version you may be using in the future. Then you want to go continue, blah 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 blah. And actually, if you do the install alongside Windows 7, then it's going to sorry, I lost my train of thought there. If you just do install alongside Windows, it will automatically make the swap space, even if you don't want it. So yeah. Then we're gonna go something else again, hit continue, and now we're gonna go back to where we were with the free space. Once again, we're going to double click on this, but this time we're gonna change this to primary again. But yeah, we're going to change it to swap area and hit OK. Now we're going to find that ext4 space that we created once this loads, and we're going to double click on that again, and we're going to use this as ext4, format it, and put the mount point as slash, and hit OK. Once again, make sure the bootloader is at /dev/sda, and then what you're going to want to do is hit install now. And that should install Linux Ubuntu onto your PC. Once again, you go through the setup process and you are done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe. Leave any questions in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them within 24 hours. And until next time, adios.